What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to NFL Turf Talk here on DSM Media's Turf Talk YouTube channel. Guys, if you are new to the channel, make sure to support by smashing that subscribe button, turn on notifications for whenever we post a video or go live. It is the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up here on the screen with your host. I am one half of them this morning, Dylan Davis. To my right, my faithful co-host, Scotty. Week 8 is upon us. Bills, Bucks. Happened last night. We're recording right now, obviously, so we will not be live this Sunday. So we're going to be getting into that matchup. Obviously, Bills come away with a victory. They head to 5-3 on the year. We're going to get into our Week 8 NFL power rankings and then our weekly pick'em segment, obviously. But my man, how are you doing? Like I said, we are pre-recording this one for everyone out there. So if we're not pulling your comments up on the screen, it's not because we don't like you. It's not because we don't like it. It's just because it's just because we're recording right now because my man Scotty's going to be down in Maryland this weekend. So a little busy, not going to get the morning episode of Turf Talk in live, but here we are for you guys.
Halloween weekend, yeah. Well, one of the Halloween weekends. I guess you could do next week as Halloween weekend as well. You could do the whole month of October, but costume party going in Maryland. So I just have this strong feeling that I'm going to be hungover Sunday morning, that I don't think on the road, I don't think I'm going to be feeling it. So probably could, makeshift something happen, but I don't know if it would be the best content to bring you guys if I'm sitting here moaning and groaning. So, yeah, man, I'm happy to be here with you and dig into this slate, man. We got some interesting games. I'm trying to count here just to make sure we got our picks right. So I believe with Sunday Night Football,
it's 14.
Yeah. So we should be good as far as even
7
amount
and 7,
of
counting everything. Yeah. For some reason, the NFL scheduled no bye weeks this week.
Interesting.
They've already started the bye week process.
Week 8
back, obviously continuing after this, but there's a full 16-game slate from Thursday to Monday night this week. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Obviously, already played some London games. Then they're going to be heading to Germany at some point. Very, very strange and odd how the schedule makers have lined some of this work up, man. But before we get into last night's ball game between the Bills and the Bucks, and we get to our weekly pick'em schedule, let's get into our Week 8 power rankings. Let me pull this off of the screen so we can get the full layout here. Obviously, some adjustments from week to week. All the way on the right, you can see where we previously had our respected teams ranked. Scotty and I have very similar lists this week. The only different team comes in at number 10. He has the Bengals. I have the Seahawks. The Bengals are definitely a team that are creeping up on my power rankings and could potentially very soon be in my top 10. They're catching their stride. However, they have a very, very tough task this weekend, taking on the 49ers on the road. So that'll be interesting there. I have Seattle at the record. I think Geno's continued to play good ball. I think the receivers and DK and Tyler Lockett, you have Kenneth Walker. I just think overall, Seattle has surprised me a bit how consistent they've been since the year started. Obviously, they lost week 1 at home against the Rams, but since then, they've been very, very good. Let me ask you something, man. We have Buffalo coming in at number 9 here. Obviously, you made your list shortly before the Thursday night game. You just updated mine after the Thursday night. That's why it says 4-3 versus 5-3 for everybody out there.
Good clarification.
Why at not like I obviously agree with you, but why at 9? I feel like some people are going to say they're coming off a win at home. How are the Bills not a top whatever team? But why do you have Buffalo at 9?
Because they're inconsistent, man, and it's shown over this season already. Just through what they're 5-3 right now, so 8 games, just over 8 games, they've already shown some of their inconsistency. Let's start week 1, man. They lose to the Jets. Now, get it. The Jets, yes, they come out with Aaron Rodgers at the helm. Aaron Rodgers is out of that game in the first quarter, and the Bills lose that game to Zach Wilson. Now, that's not to, say the Bills are frauds. The Eagles lost to the Jets with Zach Wilson without Sauce Gardner in corners. So it's not that we're fully penalizing them for their week 1 loss or anything. But then you get to the next loss, right? Which the next loss is going to be, why am I forgetting this one? Why is it leaving my brain? They have 3 losses. They have the loss to the Pats.
The Jaguars in London.
The Jaguars. Yes. Okay. So yes, that was my point. So the Jags, while that's not a bad loss, it is a win that you expect. And I think to see them come out that week, it was like, oh, the Bills are really getting going. They're coming off the hot win against the Dolphins where they beat the Dolphins 48-20, right? And then they come out, they lay an egg against the Jags. So then they go out, they they beat the Giants 14-9. Now, that's a win. That's an underwhelming win against a bad Giants team. And then what do you do after that? You come out, you lay an egg against a bad New England team. So those two games alone is why they dropped down my list significantly from 6 to 9.
And look at last night.
I was expecting them to bounce back against the Patriots, and that's why I had them at 6 at one point. Then they go out, they lose to the Patriots. That's why they dropped to 9. And then last night, it's like it didn't even move me enough to make me get up and like change my power rankings this morning because I still don't look at them differently after a decent win against the Bucks. So they're just an incredibly inconsistent team with a very high ceiling. And that's what I would label the Bills as right now.
Yeah, I think everything that you kind of just worked through there tells the story of the Buffalo Bills season, and that is that they've been consistently inconsistent. The Bills have one good win this year.
Yeah.
They beat the dog shit out of the Miami Dolphins when they came to town, and people were kind of questioning, is Miami going to, take control of this division? The Bills said not so fast. That was a great, great win for them. But outside of that, they have not played good enough football throughout the year. Now, again, granted, I know they had the same issues on defense with injuries. Okay, I get that. But Josh Allen, again, threw a pick last night. Now, he wasn't the problem last night. He actually, I believe, was pretty statistically good in the win. But still, the turnover issues loom with this team. And it just, like I said, man, you have the Dolphins win. They've beaten the Raiders, the Commanders, and the Bucks, and
the Giants,
and the Giants. And by the way, 1, 2, 3, 4 of their 5 wins are at home.
Yeah, against bad opponents. So, let's put it this way: they're still a top 10 team in the NFL. They still have all the talent on paper that you could ask for in reality. When you talk about Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, right? James Cook has been a guy that's kind of came around and become a nice weapon for them. He's a good receiving back and can run the football. You have Gabe Davis, who, while for our money, he's not a great wide receiver too. He's decent. He's a good guy that can produce. And still, they don't have the resume that I feel that they should at this point in the season. While they've beaten some teams that they should beat, you beat the other teams that you should beat, and you're 7 or 6-1 right now, something like that. So 7-1 because they're 5-3 now. So that's how I'm looking at this team. They're a team that, once again, they have a very high ceiling. Their ceiling is Super Bowl contender. Their floor is like losing to Zach Wilson and the Jets and having close games against Tyrod Taylor on national television.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's their floor. So. Yeah, I don't know. The Buffalo Bills, while I looked at them coming into the season, man, I'm pretty sure I picked them to play the Eagles in the Super Bowl just to kind of have something different. But so far this season, you see the Chiefs, man, it doesn't feel very different.
Nah, I agree with you, man. But yeah, that's why we have Buffalo down there at 9. Now, obviously, 7, 8, we have the Cowboys and Lions slipped. I don't necessarily disagree with you. I think my hatred for the Cowboys might have played a little bit of a factor here. And I also didn't want to use recency bias of the Lions ass whooping as too much of a detractor for them. So I only bumped them from 5 to 7. However, I did use that ass whooping to propel the Baltimore Ravens all the way up to 4 from 9. You've bumped them up from 8 to 5. I think that was a very, very big win for them at home, a statement win, right? Because leading up, all the talk was about the Detroit Lions. All the talk was about should the Lions be considered in the same breath as the Eagles and the Niners and the Cowboys in the NFC? They're 5-1 as well. Where's their respect? You and I, Sunday, we posed the question: what are the Baltimore Ravens at this point, right? they showed me something. Lamar Jackson showed me something. This defense showed me something. An all-out monster of a performance in
Yeah.
Baltimore where they beat the shit out of the Detroit Lions. That's why I would say we both have them there. Another team that has jumped up our draft boards, yours a little bit more than mine, the Jacksonville Jaguars, man. You have them top 4
Yeah.
from 7. I have them at 6 from 8. Just continue to impress. Trevor Lawrence continues to play good ball. And they have, I think, a decent amount of solid wins
Yeah.
up to this point, right?
Yeah.
But
Just beat the
yeah,
Bills. You got New Orleans under the belt.
yeah,
I would
New
have to go.
Orleans on the road was the last one that I was thinking of, which again, I know people poke fun at Derek Carr, etc., and they haven't lived up to potential, but to go on the road and win that game against that
Yeah.
defense
In New Orleans.
was gutsy to do so. They're on a 4-game winning streak. They are playing good ball right now.
Yeah, I love what the Jags are doing. I wanted to give them some credit here. As you know, kind of starting slow, lose a game at the beginning of the season that they shouldn't. But since then, they've been good for my money. You look at their last couple wins. You mentioned the Saints. They beat the Colts twice this season, I believe. Yeah, so they're dominating that division. Took care of the Bills, took care of the Falcons. The big loss for them was against the Texans, right? That's the disappointing one at the beginning of the season where you're questioning, you're like, are the Jags really that good? Because we thought they would be really good coming into this season. They lost to the Chiefs. That's one you'll accept, although they only put up 9 points in that game. It's 17-9 loss.
At home.
At home, that's a bad loss still to only be able to put up 9 points. But still, I like where they're going right now. They're playing really good football. They got a Steelers team coming up that they should be able to take care of business, but another test, right, for them to see if they're really made what I think they're made of. The Detroit Lions is interesting. Now, I'm not trying to, disrespect them or, go overboard on, their success so far. They were 5-1. You had people comparing them to the Eagles and the 49ers, like you said. But this team, when you look at who they played so far this season, they beat the Chiefs. That's the signature win. That's the great win. They lost to the Seahawks. They beat the Falcons 20-6. They beat the Packers 34-20. They beat the Panthers 42-24, and then the Bucks 20-6.
Yeah,
Then they come out and they get dog walked by the Baltimore
Since
Ravens.
Kansas City, they played me and you.
Yeah, exactly what I'm getting at here. So I think while no, they're still in the top 10, they're a top 8 team for my money, top 7 for yours. Let's slow down a little bit. Let's slow down with the Lions and the hype train that comes with it.
And you know what's funny, man? A lot of people will sit back, and we're here as Eagles fans. Obviously, you guys can see where we have them on our list as well. And we're going to get into our top 3 in a second. But a lot of people would probably come back and say we're hypocrites because of the Eagles' strength of schedule to start the year. Well, that would be true if the Eagles didn't just go to the Super Bowl the year prior.
Exactly.
See, my point is schedule. Yeah, schedule matters the same for everyone. And it does sound hypocritical to talk about how the Lions have 4 wins over bad teams, but the Eagles are so great because they've beaten X, Y, and Z. But the thing is, the Eagles are proven. The Eagles are a proven machine from the start of last year, right? They go to the Super Bowl. They run through the NFC. Now they're 6-1 this year, right? The Lions are unproven. So when they only beat the Panthers and the Bucks and so on, and the Falcons and Jordan Love and Desmond Ridder, when they're only beating those teams, it's easier for us to question them and their schedule wins versus the Eagles schedule wins or versus the Chiefs schedule wins and so on and so forth. Because that's why you can talk about who they've beaten.
The Eagles don't need to prove themselves as a regular season team. They just need to make the playoffs and go from there. Where they prove themselves is in the postseason. Lions need to prove themselves this regular season, prove that they belong before it's what I mean, just like slowing down before they're compared to the 49ers and the Eagles who just made the NFC Championship game, right? Like before they're compared to even the Cowboys who are, while always fall apart in the playoffs, they make the playoffs in and out every year. So like, even at that stance, it's like I have the Cowboys 1 spot over them. Yeah. Maybe it's just because they didn't play last week, right? We haven't really seen them in a while. But to be fair, it's just like I just think we need to slow down with comparing the Lions to the 49ers and the Eagles,
I agree.
who are these proven commodities, man. I get it. They're 5-2. They're a top 10 team. They're a playoff team. They lead their division right now. These are all great things and great steps for the Lions and nothing to be ashamed of. It's not something to be ashamed of that they're number 8. You know, it just sucks that they dropped from top 5. But
I agree.
when you lose like that, that's what happens. They got dog walked. Like, it was bad. They were supposed to have the top rushing defense in the NFL, and you come out against the Ravens with a top-notch rushing unit led by Lamar Jackson. And not only were they able to run the football, they were able to pass it wherever they really wanted in that game. Mark
He was
Andrews
able to do
was a
everything,
monster.
and the defense as
So,
well, right? Like
yeah.
the Lions did nothing offensively.
And this is what we've been looking for from the Ravens. This
Yeah.
is the Ravens that
Yeah.
we are supposed to see. Maybe not 38-6 against the Lions, but dominating, and that stiff defense, great offense led by MVP Lamar. So I think it spoke more for the Ravens than it did for the Lions in a sense. I don't think that's like the true Lions that lost 38-6 there, but I do think that is the Ravens team that we should see going forward.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. But let's get to our top 3, those proven commodities, like you said.
Sir.
And we don't even have to talk order, right? You have Chiefs, Eagles, Niners. I have Eagles, Chiefs, Niners. I think the bottom line is that all year long, this is probably going to be the top 3, right? Unless something drastic happens, unless the Niners continue to lose. Now, Brock Purdy, concussion protocol, playing the Bengals. Obviously, I know I said the Bengals have a tough task. Kind of slipped my mind that he's probably going to be out this weekend. With that said, not that it's their fault that they're injured, but if they do lose 3 straight, they will find themselves out of my top 3 for a week, right? But my point is, these to me are probably, when healthy, the 3 best teams in the National Football League. They're going to be fighting for positioning on these rankings week in and week out. Obviously, you had the Chiefs won last weekend. They won. You're not going to duck points. I completely hear that. But I had them at 2. I had the Eagles at 3. I just think that I think I wanted to fix my mistake. And my mistake was overreacting to a Jets loss. And the way that they handled the Dolphins made me say, okay, you know what? There's that team I was looking for. They're back up on top just where I had them before. That's basically my thinking in the Eagles jumping back to 1. But yeah, for you, I completely understand it. The Chiefs, they're 1 and they won. So how where am I going to move them to, right?
And you know, you could look at those first 2 spots and throw it in a mulligan. Like they're the same team right now, in my opinion. Like, you look at the Chiefs, there was talk around them. The only difference with the Chiefs is that the Chiefs lost their first game at the beginning of the season, so it feels long ago, right? Losing to the Lions by 1 point on opening night. But when you look at the Chiefs, they're another team that really hasn't played a complete game. They have been beating teams. We mentioned it, 17-9 against the Jags in Jacksonville, right? 17 points from the Kansas City Chiefs. Like, sure, their defense has been top tier this season, and maybe that's a good thing for them given who they have on the other side of the ball. But we haven't seen that full game from the Chiefs, maybe up until this past week against the Chargers, where Travis Kelce was able to really, really get going. Patrick Mahomes was able to get going, and that offense moving. But the defense has been great all year. For the Eagles, same thing. Haven't been able to have complete games. You have one game where the defense didn't show up against the Commanders. You have the other game where the offense didn't show up against the Jets. So, like, we're waiting for that complete performance. You get that against the Dolphins, right? Still had the turnovers, but you come out, the offense gets over 30 points. The defense holds the Dolphins offense to 10 points. That's a complete performance. And so when I look at these teams, we can talk about the top 3 now. These teams, as you mentioned, when healthy, are by far the 3 best roster constructions in the NFL for my money. Like the Jags, like the Ravens, like the Dolphins, Cowboys, so on and so forth. These 3 teams are constructed almost perfectly. Now, obviously, the Chiefs, you'd like to have maybe another.
Right. They don't have the depth.
Dominant receiver.
Right. But when you're talking about Mahomes and Kelce,
you don't need it. You don't need it. And so to that point, the difference between those top 2 teams and then that third team that we're included in there with the best roster construction is quarterback. And the last 2 weeks, we've started to see Brock Purdy shift back into what we actually think he is. When I say we, I mean me and you, not the national public.
Right.
The national public outside of Philadelphia seems to think he's the next coming of Tom Brady. He's not that, and he hasn't shown that the last 2 weeks. He's looked very, very
No,
mediocre.
he's actually lost to PJ Walker and primetime Kirk Cousins, but
Primetime Kirk. So that's where we're at with him. I'm not sold on Brock Purdy. Still, I'm not, and probably never will be. But tough matchup with the Bengals.
That's the final thing for me, man. That's what's so his concussion, and I'm not trying to make fun of Brock Purdy being injured, but he's in concussion protocol, and they zoomed in on when he got hit in the head and when the moment probably was, and everybody nationally and on Twitter, oh, sad scene here to see it on the tush push. Are you kidding me? Are you? First of all, it was just a quarterback steal. It was a failed tush push. The line did it wrong. He did it wrong, and no one was pushing from behind. Brock Purdy I don't even know what he did on that play, man. He stayed high, turned his body, got turned around, and then took a hit from the side. Yeah, he got hit in the head, and he might have a concussion. He probably has a concussion. There's nothing to do with the play. It has to do with the execution.
Yeah.
Of the team.
If you try to go over top, you're going to get hit in your head. That's what defenses are doing now. They're targeting the quarterback's head if they go over the top of the pile. That's why you see
Robert Saleh literally said we have to give Jalen Hurts 11 kisses. What do you think he meant? We have to make this sting. We have to put helmets on him.
But when Jalen Hurts goes into the pile behind his offensive lineman, he's protected. It doesn't matter, and he can slide right through.
1,000%, man. So there are our Week 8 power rankings. Scotty has Chiefs, Eagles, Niners at the top. I have Eagles, Chiefs, Niners at the top of mine. Very similar. Obviously, only our 10th teams are different, but could be similar very, very soon. Let's continue on here into our Week 8 preview, and let's get to our Pick'em segment of the show, man. Obviously, 14 games coming up on Sunday. You start us off this week, Scotty. Everything on the table, Eagles included. Where are you going to go with your first overall game pick?
Yeah, I'm going with, Eagles is an interesting one. I'm going to go with the Dolphins over the Pats, though. Dolphins need a bounce back game, right? They're 9.5-point favorites. They're at home against the New England Patriots. Patriots coming off a big win against the Buffalo Bills. Yeah. So not to take them lightly, but I do think the Dolphins are set for a bounce back game here against just a lesser talented team. You go into that big Sunday night matchup with Philadelphia. You obviously lose. Your offense doesn't look the way it's supposed to. I expect Mike McDaniel to make some adjustments there, make sure that offense is running like a well-oiled machine. So I'll go with Miami at -9.5 against the Pats. Just for reference, man, I went back and looked at all our picks so far since week 5. So for everybody out there
you go.
Honeymoon, wedding.
Update me, bro. Where are we?
5. I'm 10-6. You're 9-7, but you are coming off of a 3-1, 3-1 or 4-1 week last week, and I think I went like 2-3 or something. So you're hot right now. But yeah, that's where we're at since week 5. Just to be clear, we did miss the first couple weeks.
I do know that I got crushed maybe 2 weeks ago. I think that's 9-7. I think I got crushed.
It was 2 weeks ago, because I did it before last week's show. I forgot to bring it up, but
I'm glad you're keeping track, man. We'll have to keep track moving forward. Yeah. But very even race right now. But no, I love your pick. Obviously, I think it's a huge bounce back spot for the Dolphins, and it's a perfect letdown spot for the New England Patriots, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And then speaking of Dolphins, I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles over the Commanders for me, 7-point favorites. We obviously already talked about the Eagles-Commanders game on the Faithful Fanatic show Friday morning. Both had them winning this one and both hoping for this to be as close to a 60-minute performance for the Eagles. And I think it will be. I think they get the Sam Howell. I think that the addition of Kevin Byard will be huge. The Eagles offense already had great success against the Commanders defense a few weeks back. As long as the defense doesn't give up 31 points or whatever, which I don't expect to happen again with the way that Deshaun Desai has this unit playing, I think the Eagles will handle them pretty easily. So I'll go with the Birds over the Commies.
Yeah, that would have been my next pick as well. I think the Eagles, while Miami's, looking for that bounce back win, the Eagles are just looking to move forward, keep this going, build that chemistry and that flow going forward into the Dallas week. So, yeah, I expect a dominant performance from them. My next pick is going to be there's a lot of good options here actually. As I look at the slate this weekend, I'm going to go with the Ravens as 9.5 point favorites in Arizona over the Cardinals, coming off a monster win against the Lions.
Yeah.
I won't be surprised if they don't play up to that level again, right? But maybe an underwhelming opponent. Maybe you let up a little bit, but I still think the Ravens take care of business
Yeah.
on the road. I think they've found their stride.
I agree with you, man. I was between them and the Eagles as my first
That's a
overall
tough
pick
one.
there. It's just for me, I went with I don't know. I think that both are going to win handily. Obviously, the Ravens are almost 10-point favorites, like you said. But when you're talking about letdown spots, you watch what Baltimore was able to do at home against the Lions. You go on the road to play that annoying, scrappy Joshua Dobbs led team. Yeah, no, I love the pick. My second overall pick, I'm looking at Sunday Night Football. I do not trust this man to win lots of games when it's close, but I don't think that this one will be close at all. I'm going with the Chargers at home over the Bears. Chargers sitting at 2-4, 1-2 record at home so far to start the season, Scotty. They have been underwhelming as can be, but when you're looking at their opponent coming to town, who is just an absolute disaster, same total in the win category somehow, but they are a disaster. I believe Justin Fields is supposed to miss multiple weeks,
Yeah,
correct? So
yeah,
he's
he's
not
not
even
playing
playing.
this week.
Bagent, whatever is the starting quarterback for Chicago. Yeah, I got the Chargers in this one. They're 8.5 point favorites. A lot of heavy lines so far to open up week 8, man.
Absolutely.
7, 8.5, 9.5, all across the board. Something I feel like you don't see too often. But then again, when you have 14 games scheduled, I'm sure you're going to catch quite a few of them. So I'll go
Yeah.
with the Chargers here.
I like that pick as well. That would have been my next pick. You look at the Bears, it's the opponent, man. The Bears will give you a game, Chargers, if you just take it. If you just don't go out there and beat yourselves on Sunday Night Football, you should take care of business against Tyson Bagent. Had a game against the Raiders, but that is the Raiders at the end of the day. I think the Chargers are a little bit better than them. So I definitely agree with you there. My next pick, going to be the Chiefs over those disgusting Broncos, man. They're 7-point favorites. It is on the road. It's in Denver. But you know what's been going on with this Denver team. They're spiraling out of control. They did beat the Packers last week by 2 points. Good win nonetheless against the Jordan Love Packers, but not going to happen against Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, who are finding their stride once again. I'm drawing a blank here. Did these teams play recently by chance? They did. They played
Yeah.
almost basically 2 weeks ago. So the Chiefs
Yeah.
won in Arrowhead 19-8. So I'm expecting a much better performance from the Chiefs. I think they come out and try to make a point against this Denver team.
Yeah,
That is
that was one of those
spiraling.
games where I remember we came on talking. Russell Wilson had like 80 passing yards, 70 passing yards, and the
Yeah,
Chiefs only won by 8 points or something like that. And we were sitting here like, how 9 points? We were
can't
like,
make that shit
how
up.
is that? How is that even possible, man? But yeah, they did play not too long ago. I love the pick. That's where I was trying to get to next. And now you forced my hand to take those disgusting, dirty cockroaches. I'm
Oh
going to
man,
go with Dallas Cowboys at home against the LA Rams. Dallas fans just recently took over an LA stadium, obviously the same stadium the Rams play in.
yeah,
So there's no Rams fans traveling to Dallas to help take over that stadium. Obviously coming off a bye week before that, like you said, like we just talked about taking over that stadium. They had a big Monday Night Football win over Justin Herbert and the Chargers,
yeah.
which I thought was key for Dallas there to improve to 4-2. I think that the pass rush will be able to get after Matthew Stafford quite a bit on Sunday afternoon, and I think that Dak might have a field day, man. I really do. I know Aaron Donald's still on that side of the ball, but we've seen firsthand what this Rams defense looks like. Obviously, we didn't have the greatest success against it on the road, but I think that Dallas will be able to, pad those stats and numbers and fill up the score sheet today or Sunday. And I think the Cowboys will win pretty easily against the Rams.
Interesting, man. That was one of the games I was looking at, and I was like, man, that spread. It kind of looked like a toss up at first to me, but I guess as I hear you talk about the matchup and as I think through it, I tend to agree just because when I think about the Rams, I was initially thinking, get the ball out quick, involve your receivers, Cooper Cup, Puka Nakua, and get those guys involved, right? Use that explosive offense, run the football at them. But they got an injury to Kyron Williams, right? They're starting running backs out.
Yeah.
The offensive line isn't great. Matthew Stafford isn't a mobile quarterback, which usually that's what it takes to kind of compete with the Cowboys defense. So I actually side with you on this one after thinking about it.
Sadly, right? We have
Yeah,
to
sadly. I wanted to believe, that the Rams will go into Dallas and beat them, and
yeah,
they have a chance. It's not that the Rams
sure.
don't have a
Yeah.
chance. They could beat the Dallas Cowboys. I just wouldn't put my money on that. So that is where I'm at with that. Let's see here. This is where it kind of gets tough. We've had all the easy ones. I think the widest spread left is
it gets a little bit narrowed here.
the Bengals and the and the
Sam
49ers,
Darnold
which
most likely under center. San Fran's still 4-point favorites, man.
it's interesting.
Back your boy, man. Back your boys.
The thing is, you know what? You're right, because I was going to do it no matter what. I may as well just do it here. It's not like these other teams are going to get picked over this team. So I'm going to go with the Bengals over the 49ers, man. Like I said, I was going to pick this way no matter what. I was picking the Bengals over the 49ers from the start of this week. Even with Brock Purdy playing, I was picking the Bengals because I do think they're hitting a stride right now. I think the 49ers are hitting this questionable part of their season where there's a lot of guys that are hampered. Brock Purdy in concussion protocol. Deebo Samuel probably won't play in this game. CMC with a broken rib. You have a Bengals team that's 3-3. They need wins. Like, they need to keep up with the Baltimore Ravens. So when you look at the game, I feel that this game is more important to the Cincinnati Bengals. Now, you don't want to be a 49ers fan and see your team lose 3 in a row, but you don't have Brock Purdy. Guys are beat up. You are at home, but in the NFC, you still have room to maneuver. You've already beat the Cowboys handedly, so you have the one up on them as long as you have at least the same record. I just feel like this game means more for the Bengals who need the win. They're in the AFC. Not only do they need to stay at pace with the Ravens, but they need to stay at pace with these other teams in the AFC that are going to be bidding for a playoff spot. So this is kind of I don't want to call it like a turning point or, just like the biggest part of the season or something, but this is where you could see a shift happen, I feel like, where the 49ers do lose 3 games in a row.
Yeah.
Cincinnati has now won 3 games in a row, and they're back to, above 500. They're back competing in the AFC. And I don't know. It's more of a feeling thing here for me. I get it. The 49ers still have a really good team. Their defense will be ready to go, but look at what Kirk Cousins did to that passing defense over the weekend, or on Monday Night Football, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
Look at what Jordan Addison was able to do that night against the San Francisco 49ers defense and all the pass interference calls and defensive holding penalties and stuff like that. They love to play physical. A big part of it is the way the game's being officiated. But I think the Bengals can match that physicality in a sense, but then also have the explosiveness of Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, and that offense that's starting to find their groove. So I'll go with the Bengals here, man. +4.
I like it, man. Oh, sneaking in that +4, huh? No, just kidding.
No, it's not. We were going straight money lines here, but the
kidding.
+4 is for your money. That's where I would put it.
No, I like the pick a lot, man. I think the Bengals need it, right? I know it's tough, even without Brock Purdy, no Brock, whatever the case is, if Debo's back or not. It's still hard to believe that this Niners team with that roster and that defense is going to lose 3 straight, come home and lose their 3rd straight, right, off the road. But with that said, the Bengals kind of need it. The Bengals are just starting to hopefully hit their stride a bit. They're 500. They started slow. Burrow's been banged up. T. Higgins has missed time, but that Jamar
Coming off the
Chase
bye
connection
week.
is starting to make noise again. I think the Bengals need this to say, like, one of those statement wins. Like, we are here. We're back. If you lose this game to Sam Darnold, how am I supposed to take you seriously as a championship contender? You would just fall out of that rank, right? You would have to.
I do agree.
So I think that the Bengals need this one, man. Now we get ugly and we look at some potential upsets. I'm going to go with a home dog, baby, and it's Will Levis time. I'm taking the Tennessee Titans at home over the Atlanta Falcons for my 4th overall pick. Wow, this is disgusting to look at. However, I am going to trust that Tennessee defense a bit at home versus Desmond Ridder. What's going on with Bijan Robinson and the Atlanta Falcons? I have no idea. They're probably going to be under pressure to use him this week unless something crazy is going on behind the scenes there. But with that said, I'm going to trust the Tennessee defense in the pass rush. Even as bad as they've been, they're 2-4, man. 2-4. All right. They've not had success on offense. That's why they're probably making the change to play it, to put Levis in. But you look at that Ravens team that just dropped 36 on the Lions or whatever on the Lions. They only gave up 24 to the Ravens and lost by 1 possession, right? They have not been bad. They gave up 24 to the Chargers. They gave up 16 to the Saints week 1. Their defense has not necessarily been a problem. They still have Derrick Henry back there. You still have DeAndre Hopkins. I'm not saying that I trust Will Levis. I'm just going out on a hunch here to say that the Titans will win an ugly, scrappy game with 2 young quarterbacks turning the football over, and I'll trust Tennessee's defense at home more than I trust the Falcons on the road.
Yeah, you look at Arthur Smith, man, going back to his old home where he was offensive coordinator, and where both of these teams, they just love to run the fucking football, and I commend them for it because it is one of the safer routes of playing football when it comes to turnovers and such. But I'm with you. I think this is a good place to pick the Titans and kind of take that plus money, and even if you wanted to take that money line at home,
roll the dice a bit.
Yeah, roll the dice a little bit against the Falcons, man. Desmond Ridder is not a world beater. He's not a guy that's going to come into Tennessee and light you up and win a game by himself. Now, if they can get the run game going, that's what it's going to come down to, right? Which run game is working, which run game is successful in this game. That's going to be the team that wins most likely. So I'm with you. I think it's a pick 'em, but I would probably side with the Titans at home, man, given the circumstances. My next pick, this one's interesting, man. Let me go with the Jags over the Steelers.
I was going to say there's a top 10 team still out there.
Yeah, I'm going with the Jags here, but not necessarily because I'm so confident that they're going to beat the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was confident that the Rams would beat the Steelers last week. Given the Rams
offense matchup is going to be fun. Not fun.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting seeing that Pittsburgh defense go up against that Jacksonville offense. I do think Jacksonville is just starting to find their stride, and I think this would be a great game for them to kind of lock themselves in as like a for real team and that they are in the right space. And you look at the Jaguars, man, their upcoming schedule. They play the 49ers next week. Now, whether that's the 49ers who have just lost 3 straight or the 49ers that have beaten the Bengals without Brock Purdy, either way, you're going into a game against the 49ers. Now, you get them at home. It's going to be a lot harder to win than against the Steelers this Sunday. So I'm looking at this game for the Jags as more of a prove-it game rather than me being just wholeheartedly confident in the Jags.
I agree.
Taking them in this spot to show a little bit of confidence, but hopefully for them to pull through. Prove me right.
I agree, and vice versa. Right? Are the Steelers? Well, I don't care how that defense is.
They're 4-2, man. They're 4-2,
and Matt Canada and Najee Harris and that just nightmare of an offense. Really about to go 5-2 to start this season? Really?
It would be hard to believe, but it is a possibility if the Jags come out here and lay this egg. Doug Peterson comes out with his head in his ass. Then that's the thing with the Steelers. They're not this like great team, obviously, because their offense, but that defense will keep them in almost every game if your offense lets them, right? So it's interesting. It's an interesting spot, but maybe this is also a prove it type of game for the Steelers, or maybe it's not. Maybe the Steelers will just be like this all year, and that's just who they are. Whereas it's a prove it game for the Jags. I don't know. I'm going to be keeping my eye on this game to see how it plays out because I want to believe that the Jags specifically have a top-notch offense behind Trevor Lawrence. I want to believe that with Travis Etienne and Christian Kirk and Calvin Ridley, right? I want to believe it. Evan Ingram. But this game is one of those games where you blow this against that offense, all of a sudden everything you've done doesn't look as great.
Yep.
And that's the spot they're in right now.
I agree, man. My 5th
Where you
overall pick. Going to go with the New Orleans Saints on the road here against the Indianapolis Colts. Very, very ugly game. I foresee here. Gardner Minshew versus Derek Carr. I give the edge to Derek Carr and the Saints. Skill position, guys, I give the edge to the Saints. Defense, I give the edge to the Saints. But for some reason, they have not been able to put it together. This is a team that you and I had picked to win the NFC South division. Now, not to say that they still can't do so, but you're staring down the barrel of a 3-4 team right now, who, if you lose, you are now 3-5. That is inexcusable to start this year with what you thought was a quarterback fix for you in Derek Carr. Something is just not clicking there. But like I said, I give the edge to them in the quarterback department, in the skill position department, and on the defensive side of things. I'm going to roll the dice and take the Saints. They're only 1-point favorites here. So I'm going to have the hope that they can outlast the Colts here.
Yeah, man. On paper, I agree with you. I think the Saints are the better team. I just think they've been a full-on wild card this season as far as the way they're playing. Whether it's the defense, the offense not showing up, they've just been a full-on wild card. But with that being said, you're going against Gardner Minshew and the Colts. Now, they had their crazy game last week, right? The Colts. They scored, 38 points against the Browns, who's supposed to be the best defense in the NFL right now. Do they come out and have an output like that again? Like that's where I side with you, and that's where I'm like, the Saints need to go ahead and take care of business, even on the road against the Colts here. And maybe we do see that Kenny Moore trade to the Eagles after the Colts lose some more games. So I'm rooting for the Saints. Nonetheless, my next pick is going to be these frauds in Minnesota, the Minnesota Vikings. Hey, I call them frauds. They go out, they beat, the 49ers on national television. So kudos to them. They did us a favor. And I think they get back to 500 this weekend against the Green Bay Packers. I think we start to see the Green Bay Packers fully sink in, right? Sink into what they are, which is not a good football team led by Jordan Love, man. And you called that at the beginning of the season. I called the Vikings as frauds. They're not that fraudulent. They're going to beat the Green Bay Packers even on the road and take care of business. Christian Kirk. Kirk Cousins has been he's been pretty good the last few weeks, man. He seems like he's hitting a stride even without Justin Jefferson. Jordan Addison seems to be a very good wide receiver that they drafted this year. So I'll go with Minnesota in this one just because the Packers are so bad.
I was debating on going into that game soon. The only thing that worries me with Minnesota is a letdown spot. Like, how classic would it be?
That's fair.
Primetime Kirk finally gets over the hump, beats the San Francisco 49ers, and then they turn around and play Jordan Love and the Packers, who are very, very bad right now. That would be some the Raiders. But we'll see what they end up doing. But I do agree, the Minnesota Vikings, they're just the better team, man. They have the better quarterback.
Packers did lose to the Broncos last week.
Right. Exactly.
Broncos and Raiders this season. Falcons. Yeah, okay. All right.
For my 6th overall pick, the chant stays even with QB1 down, man. JETS, 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 Jets. I'm going to stick with the New York Jets this week at not at home, but technically at home against the New York Giants. I just think that this Jets defense is going to be too much for whatever Daniel Jones and that offense try to throw out there. I think that Zach Wilson is playing a little freer, a little more loosely than how restricted they were using him and how much, they were just run the ball on first and second down and turn around and try to throw a slant on third down with him. They've kind of let that arm fly a little bit. I'm not saying that's going to lead to great success, but against the Giants, I do think they'll be okay. I'm interested to see what that crowd looks like. Two passionate New York fan bases. The Jets came into the season with Super Bowl aspirations. The Giants made the playoffs last year, but now the Giants are off to a slow start. The Jets were in, a dismal place, but now they're 3-3 with a chance to get above 500. So I think that their crowd will show up, and that line's weird, man. Jets -3. That's saying something about what the Giants are up to right now at home. I'm going to take the Jets in this one with that defense.
Yeah, I love that pick actually as well. That would have been my last pick here if I got the choice. But I agree with everything you said. I think the Jets defense is just too good. Sauce Gardner should be back after the bye week. Their secondary should be a lot healthier. And this New York Giants team, man, has just been dismal. Now, they got the win last week against the Commanders, but it's a 14-7 game. And then the week before that was 14-9 loss to the Bills. So it's like their defense has been playing better, but is that just the Commanders last week, right? Like, is that just the Commanders offense doing that against the Giants? And to your point about Zach Wilson, I think that Aaron Rodgers has had a great influence on Zach Wilson, and I think we got a glimpse of that against the Eagles where he can coach from the sideline. He can give him tips. He can tell him what to look for from the defense. He can help him identify defensive coverages and certain things that are going on in the game. So I think Aaron Rodgers has truly helped Zach Wilson to an extent. Now, this is a big litmus test. I shouldn't say big. It's the fucking Giants, but
no, but the
for them to get back over 500
rivalry, right?
Yeah,
that other New York team.
It's a big test for the Jets to get back over 500. This is a team that was around 500 last year and tried to get into the playoffs late. Weren't able to get it done. Has Zach Wilson grown at all to where this team is really good? Like they have a good surrounding cast for him. But can they take care of business against this Giants team that they should beat? It's a neutral playing ground. So I do like the Jets. I'll be interested to see what we get from Zach Wilson tomorrow.
Yep.
Next and final pick for myself. We got 2 games left. So we got the Texans and the Panthers.
Yes, we do.
And we got the Browns and the Seahawks, man. That is in Seattle too. I'll be honest with you, man. I'm tempted to pick the underdog in each game, but I'm gonna go with Seattle's home crowd, and I'm gonna go with Cleveland coming back down to earth. They're not gonna score 39 points again with PJ Walker at the helm. I do believe Deshaun Watson will miss this game, so Browns on the road. Tough defense, right, from the Browns, but I don't think it's going to be enough for the Seahawks at home. 3.5-point favorites. So I'll go with the Seahawks, although I'll be honest, I was tempted to go with the Browns in this game. I think their defense is good enough to upset teams like this, even with mediocre quarterback play. They're very similar to the 49ers, who they beat recently to me. When you look at the way they're structured now, the offense of the 49ers is built a little bit better, right, with CMC, Debo, and Ayuk, and George Kittle. They have better names. No Nick Chubb for the Browns. But the Browns have that sturdy, talented defense. And then they did have Nick Chubb at the running back. They had Deshaun Watson. They had Amari Cooper, Elijah Moore outside. So I like the Browns, but not in this game. I'll go with the Seahawks in this one at home, man.
Yeah, no, I like it. I was going to take the Seahawks last pick. I was just kind of curious to pick your brain about whether that Browns defense bounces back, right? But like you said, PJ Walker on the road, 12th man. even if it's a low scoring affair, I'll still trust Geno and those weapons and that rushing attack to score, 17 points more than I'm going to trust PJ Walker to do so on the road again in that atmosphere. You left me this one for my final pick. Now, there is a fun storyline. Yeah. First overall pick, second overall pick, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to take CJ Stroud, and I'm going to go with the Houston Texans here on the road over Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers here. I think that the Panthers legitimately might be the worst team in the league. Like, I know we have said a lot of things about Jonathan Gannon and the Arizona Cardinals, and you have Joshua Dobbs starting for you right now. The Panthers are very, very bad. Like, Adam Thielen is Adam Thielen at this point of his career is balling out. And they're still like a mess on offense. They're very bad defensively. Yeah. A lot of guys questionable on the defensive side of the ball for them this weekend. And I'm just going to ride with CJ Stroud, who's looked like the better professional quarterback so far. I'm going to ride with DeMeco Ryans and that defense and the way that they've been playing. It hasn't been perfect or beautiful in Houston to start the year, but they've at least competed week in and week out, and they have some very, very good, surprising wins so far. I think this is a week where they go on the road and say, you know what, for once, we are the better team.
We are.
For once out of all of our schedule, this is the game we are favored and we need to go win. And I think DeMeco Ryans will have them ready. I think CJ Stroud will continue to play clean football. And I think that they will get the job done on the road over the Carolina Panthers.
No, I do actually agree with you. As I was talking about, maybe both of these games being upsets. I don't think they will be. I ended up picking the Seahawks, and I do agree. I think the Houston Texans simply are the better team. I think CJ Stroud has been the better quarterback. You look at what they have around CJ Stroud, right? You have Dameon Pierce, right? He's a good running back, good young running back. Nico Collins has turned into a wide receiver one down there who has looked brilliant. So I like what they're doing down there in Houston. And I think that they're a team that they're not playing to like lose and get like a high draft pick because they have their quarterback. They have weapons. They can add stuff in free agency if they need to going into next season. I think this is a team that is just playing to build good tendencies, winning tendencies. And I think DeMeco Ryans being at the helm is going to lead them in the right path. And to your point, the Carolina Panthers, the reason I said that about the upset is because it feels like if we can't pick the Panthers to win, they're at home against the Texans.
Right. When are we going to pick
them to win that game?
Yeah.
Are they going to win a game this season? Maybe they don't.
Yeah.
So,
I'm with
you. They're bad, man. It's kind of crazy.
I agree. Guys, that is going to wrap up this week 8 kickoff show of the NFL season. We will be back to our regularly scheduled 2 episodes per week starting this week now that the Phillies are eliminated from postseason action, man. But we will be back on Thursday nights as well as Sunday mornings here on NFL Turf Talk. Make sure if you guys want to support, make sure to smash that subscribe button. It's the best spot to get your thoughts, comments, and questions pulled up all here on the screen with us. Best spot to be interactive with us throughout each show and each week and get your opinions and game predictions out there as well. Obviously, always more fun when you guys interact with us. But for myself, for Scotty, for DSM Media, have a great